Hey, this is Tim, licensed loan officer. Today on this video, we're going to talk about ready to buy a home. We're going to go over questions that you want to ask yourself, saving for your down payment, about your credit, and how to buy a home. And just so you know, this channel's all about first-time home buyers, buying investment property, building equity and wealth through home ownership, having excellent credit to finance properties and make money. So if you like that kind of stuff, consider subscribing to the channel. I'd love to have you. Okay, stick to the end. It's a lot of information. Glad to have you. And I'm going to go ahead now and share my tablet and we'll get into it. Let's go. All right. So are you ready to buy a home? Okay. So if you can answer yes, to these questions below, then you're probably ready to own your home. Now, these are some important questions that you want to ask yourself and be very honest with yourself. Now, the first question: do you have at least 2 years of regular, steady income? Now, in the mortgage world, we only go back 2 years. So you don't have to be at your job 2 years. You just need 2 years of work history. Now, if you had a couple of gaps in your employment, sometimes they will have to be explained. But generally speaking, 2 years is all we need. Now, sometimes they'll go back a little bit further if it's a little shaky, but you want to ask yourself, do you have at least 2 years of regular income? And then is your income steady? So very important. So if your income's steady, do you get paid every other week? Do you get paid every week? Do you get paid monthly? Do you have steady income? So very important there. So look at your income and determine if it's steady, okay? And the second question kind of leads into the first question. Is your income reliable? Okay, reliable income. So a reliable income means that you're full-time. Now, if you are part-time, then we will need 2 years of part-time income, okay? But if you're full-time, you're normally reliable. Now, it is kind of hard buying a mortgage as part-time. And the issue with being part-time is that they can give you 7 hours, 15 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours. And I've ran into issues with people working part-time. So if you're full-time, most of the time you're going to get at least 34 hours and you're okay. Another question you want to ask yourself is, do you have good credit?
Yes.
Now, you don't need good credit to get a mortgage, but you're going to generally need at least a 620. Now, a lot of lenders online and videos you're going to see, and I may be guilty of it too, will advertise, 580 or above. But a lot of times at 580, that's actually a very poor credit score. And unless you have a large down payment, which we call that a compensating factor, it's going to be hard. So shoot for a 620, and then good credit is actually a 670. And if you need help with your credit, check out this video right here, and that will help you with your credit. Now, the next thing you want to ask yourself is, do you have long-term debt? Now, long-term debt would be maybe a student loan, a car payment, installment loans. You want to examine your debt because they're going to look at your debt to income. So your other monthly obligations, remember, we don't look at the balance, just the payment. So we add up those payments, those minimum payments, and then we also see how much your potential mortgage would be. So if you have a lot of other debt, sometimes you want to pay those down or pay those off so you can afford your mortgage payment. Now, with a conventional mortgage, generally speaking, the debt to income is 45% or below. Now, if you're FHA actually goes up to 56%. Yeah, 56% debt to income. But a lot of times that's hard to get approved. But again, you can be at 50% FHA. FHA is real lenient when it comes to debt to income. But conventional, 45%. So you want to look at your debt, add up your minimum payments, and see what that is to make sure that you can afford your mortgage payment. Now, another important question is, have you saved money for a down payment? Now, that's very important because lenders generally don't want to finance the whole property. They want you to put a little bit of your money into the transaction. They want you to have some skin in the game, we call it. So FHA, the minimum down payment is 3.5%. With conventional, it's 3%. And those are for first-time home buyers. And what's considered a first-time home buyer is that you have not been on the title of the home in the last 3 years. But if you already own a home, again, you could get another home if it's your primary with conventional 5%, and FHA will be 3.5%. So down payments are pretty affordable. Now, keep in mind that your down payment is just your down payment. Now, there are closing costs and then prepaids. So closing costs would be a lender charge, title, and then prepaids would be like your homeowner's insurance, your taxes. We call those prepaids. Now, we have a couple more questions here that you want to answer yes to, okay? Now, remember, if you answer yes to these questions, so if you said that, yes, I have 2 years of work history, my income's reliable, I have good credit, I don't have a lot of debt, and I have down payment, then you're ready. Then you are ready. And then let's go over some more questions here. Now, these are important questions. Buying a home is a responsibility. It does come with a lot of benefits, but it's a responsibility, okay? Because you got to maintain your home. Your home is an asset, but you have to maintain it and keep it nice. And a lender wants you to maintain the home because that's their asset, but it's your asset too. And then, so another question here is, can you pay a mortgage every month? Okay. No. So can you pay a mortgage every month? Now, if you had a hard time paying your rent, then you may want to wait and become, comfortable paying rent on time and then, pay a mortgage, because a mortgage is due on the first of the month. Now, most lenders do give you a grace period to the 15th. After the 15th, they will charge you a 5% late fee. And then after the 30th, that's called a mortgage late. And you really don't want a mortgage late, because a mortgage late not only damages your credit, but it prevents you from refinancing and possibly buying other homes in the future, because when they pull that credit report, that mortgage late can be on there for 7 years. So can you, make a mortgage payment every month? That's a good question, because that payment's going to come due. Okay. Also, can you pay other costs like insurance and taxes? So generally speaking, it's called an escrow. An escrow means that when you make your mortgage payment, you're going to make one payment, but that payment's going to include principal. Principal is paying down your balance. It's going to include interest. Interest is, just the cost of your mortgage. And then it's going to have your taxes. Taxes go in your escrow, and that goes to the city. And in homeowner's insurance does go in your escrow. And then when it's time for your homeowner insurance to be due, it goes to your homeowner insurance. And then if you don't put 20% down, you have a little bit of mortgage insurance. And mortgage insurance just insures the lender just in case you default. Now, the good news, if you have a conventional mortgage, that mortgage insurance will drop off at 20% equity. Now, if you're an FHA and you don't put 10% down, the mortgage insurance is the life of the loan. But the good news, you can always refinance out of an FHA mortgage into a conventional and get rid of your mortgage insurance. Now, another important question right here, this is another important question right here, is can you set aside money for other costs of being a homeowner, like closing costs, repairs, new furniture, home improvements. So you want to put some money aside because when you move into your home, you might want to improve it. You can customize it. It's your home. You also want to put a little bit of money away because, things happen. Things break in a home, things get old, and you want to, update it and keep it nice. So if you answer yes to all these questions, then you are ready to buy a home. Okay? And I want to talk about saving for a down payment. Okay? This is important, saving for a down payment. And this can be challenging, especially for first-time home buyers. Because remember, you need your down payment and a little bit of closing costs. Now, the good news, there are down payment assistance programs. There are sellers concessions. And there's some things out there to make it a little bit affordable. You can borrow from your 401k. You can get a gift from family members. But generally speaking, which is about 99.9%, is that most lenders won't lend you the full price of the home, okay? So most lenders, want you to put a little bit of money in it because a lender is going to give you, let's say, 97% of the mortgage, but you got to have that 3%, okay? So that's what they want. So, have your down payment ready and have a little bit of extra for your closing costs, and a little bit of extra just in case you want to, tweak the home a little bit when you move in there. Now, right here, they want you to come up with some money from yourself, like we just talked about. Now, it can be hard to save for your down payment. And just so you know, too, if you do have a large down payment, this will help you get a better interest rate. So if you put down 5%, it's a bump. So a bump means you get a little bit better pricing, which is interest rate or closing costs. So sometimes you can get lower costs or better interest rate. The next bump would be 10%. So if you put 10% down, you get a bump, and then a little bit at 15%, and then 20%. Now generally at 20%, there's no mortgage insurance, and you get a good rate. Lenders love it if you put 20% down because it's less risky for them now. Because now the lender's loaning you 80% of the home and you're putting 20% down. So that's another good thing. And then the last thing down here, right here, what's down here? The amount of the down payment depends on the loan program. So that's important too. And the loan program, there's, like I said, down payment assistance programs, FHA programs. There's VA. VA is zero down payment. USDA is zero down payment. So it depends on the area. There's lots of different programs to help you. So it's good to talk to a lender and go over the programs and see what you would qualify for. And then I recommend also talking to more than one lender because it's always good to get a second opinion. I can't tell you how many people that I've talked to where another lender said no and then I said yes. Or same thing, I had some issues with the client and I referred them to another lender and they were able to help them. So very important to always have a second set of eyes, okay? Because some people don't do that. Now, I want to go a little bit more into down payments. And this is hypothetical. This is for example. So imagine you want to buy a home for $200,000 and 20% would be $40,000. And then 5% would be $10,000. And then the minimum 3.5% would be $7,000. And that's just to give you kind of a ballpark, okay? Now, I want you to note this right here. That there are closing costs, and prepaid on top of the down payment. Now, sometimes if you just come with your down payment, the seller can pay your closing costs and prepaids. That is possible. Now, in this market, as I'm recording this, it could be a little tight, but if it's a buyer's market where there's a lot of inventory, there's a lot of homes, you can easily get that. But in this market right now, it's a little bit more competitive. It may take you a little bit more time to get that. But I tell people, if you just get your down payment, we can work with you. We can talk to sellers, or the realtor can talk to sellers, and we could ask, hey, could you pay their closing costs for them? And if the seller really wants to sell their home, and if their home been on the market a long time, they'll consider that, and they can pay all your closing costs. So if you just have your 3% or just have your 3.5% as a first-time home buyer, don't get discouraged, because there's a way where you can get some seller's concession. And with seller's concession, with FHA up to 6%, and with conventional, it depends on your down payment. So if you put 3% down with conventional, normally you can get up to 3%. Now, if you put more down with conventional, you get higher seller's concession. So it's based on the down payment. So different programs have different tiers for the seller's concession. But seller concessions are really nice because it's less money out of your pocket, okay? So the next slide, I want to talk about just some tips here for saving for your down payment, because, like I said, a lot of first-time home buyers struggle with down payment. So a good tip here is just open up a separate savings account. And what's cool about this is that you can do a automatic withdrawal. So schedule it for when you get paid, and whatever you can afford, $200, $100 a paycheck, whatever, just have it come straight out of your account, kind of like your other bills, like taxes come straight out of your account. So that way you don't even see the money. It goes into a separate account, and it's saving for your down payment. Now, another important thing you can do is budgeting, a budget. Now, you'll be surprised how much money you have after you do a budget. You do a budget, see how much your expenses are, see if you can cut a few expenses, see if you can cut a couple of prescriptions, and then you can put in your budget home fund. So you can budget to save $200, $300 a month, for your down payment. And this is what I talked about already. Automatic transfers to your down payment savings account. You can reduce some of your expenses and cut back on some spending. So, save a little bit and save for your down payment. And another thing you could do is increase your income through part-time or side gigs. There's so many ways to make money online and apps and things like that. You can always get a little extra money on the side and use that for your down payment, okay? And let's talk a little bit about credit here. So to get the best interest rate on a mortgage, you're going to need a good credit. Now, if you don't have the best credit, continue to work at it. Remember, 620 is what you want. You want a 620. But if the higher your credit is, the lower your interest rate will be, and the lower your payment will be. And that's going to save you money on the front end, because you're going to save money by having a lower mortgage payment with a lower rate. And it's also going to save you on the back end, because you're going to pay less interest over the life of the loan. Now, in most cases here, you're going to need around a 620. Unless you have a large down payment, and we call that a compensating factor, because a lot of times lenders, they want to see strong credit. They don't want a 599. Those are risky loans. A lot of people default with bad credit. And if you're at a 599, the good news, you're not very far off from a 620. You're not very far off. And the thing about it, you can get a free copy, of your credit report. And the way you can get that is go to annual free credit report. And you have 3 bureaus. And so TransUnion, there's Equifax, Experian. So those are the 3 credit bureaus, and you really only need one of them, really. They're pretty similar, but you can go to annual free credit report, and you get one report for each of them every 12 months. And you also can go to Credit Karma for free and look at your credit report. Now, annual free credit report doesn't give you a credit score. It just shows you all your debts and liabilities. And it's good to check your credit to see if there are errors, see if it's accurate, and that'll let you know where you stand, okay? Now, here's some tips for having good credit. Always pay your bills on time. Now, I've ran into some people that said that, hey, I had a rough patch. I didn't pay all my bills. I got a new job, and now I'm all caught up. But the problem with that is the damage is already done. It could take you a year to 2 years to recover, because one late payment can wipe out almost 6 or 7 on-time payments. So always pay your bills on time and just pay the minimum sometimes. So always be saving. You always want to pay your bills, because that will destroy your credit. They want their money and they want it on time, okay? Now, don't close or max out credit cards. Now, that's important. When you close a credit card, you lose an account and you lose that payment history. So if you don't want to use a card anymore, just put it in a folder, put it somewhere away and leave it. Okay. So if some people say, I'm not going to use that card anymore and I'm going to close it, don't close it. Just put it away and never max out a card. Because when it's maxed out, you have a higher chance of being default, and then they're going to penalize you, because as your balance gets over 50%, it makes your credit go down, because it's like, hey, something's wrong. Why is the balance so high? So you can ask them to increase your balance sometimes, or just pay it down. So that we call that credit 𝙂𝙧𝙤𝙧. You don't want a high credit 𝙂𝙧𝙧𝙤, okay? And as I said here, be very cautious about closing accounts. Now, if you don't use an account for a few years, depending on what, sometimes they'll close it, and that's something you have no control of it. But don't close accounts. Let them do it. And sometimes you can use it here and there, just to keep it open. Buy some gas or something you're gonna buy anyway. But try not to close it. And then you want to show a long payment history of on-time payments. So the longer you manage accounts, the longer you pay on time, the longer you just, keep your credit card, you're going to get rewarded. Now, what I like to do is use one card at a time. I always have my main card, and I use that card for gas, for restaurants, and I just like to use that main card. And then after a while, I may open up a new card to get some reward points and things like that, and I'll put that other card away. Now, make sure when you have credit cards that there's no annual fee. I'm not a big fan of annual fee, unless you travel a lot and you're gonna, use it a lot more to make up that annual fee. Because you're basically giving them money to be a customer. That's what an annual fee is. You're paying me to be a customer, and I'm just not a fan of that. Okay, so next is only apply for cards that you need. So you don't want to be constantly applying for credit, because those hard inquiries, they don't have a lot of impact, but it looks bad. It kind of drains your credit a little bit if you're constantly applying. So if you apply for something, you didn't get approved, just wait, or maybe open a secure card, and then later on, after you make 6 to 12 on-time payments, go back and apply again. All right. So any questions? So if you have questions, put it below in the comment section, okay? Put it in the comment section below, and I will answer it for you, okay? And thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps. And if you have questions, like I said, drop me a comment below. Please subscribe to this channel. I'd love to have you here. And I will see you again on the next video. Thanks so much, and I'll see you later.
Hell yeah!